This is the Erin Marie Podcast, where the pussified mentality gets thrown in the dumpster fire where it belongs, and mediocrity gets We're talking total annihilation. She doesn't sugarcoat for the Care Bear motherfuckers who bang their victim drum, or anyone doing the backstroke in the cesspool they call life. This show is about getting off your ass and handling your because the fate of the next generation depends on you becoming mentally unfuckwithable. Let's rock it, you unapologetic Americans. This is the Erin Marie Podcast, and here she is.
Community, what's good? I'm your host, Erin Marie, and this is the show where I teach you how to master your attention with real-world applications so you can build a brain that bends in your favor. Today is all about exposing the bullshit that you crutch on to remain inside your own struggle. I'm going to shake it out in wide open spaces and help you understand why it exists in the first place, which means I'm about to call you out on your shit in a way that punches you in the throat and wakes you the fuck up. So expect it to hurt, because growth does. So here's the deal before we get into it. On this podcast, I choose not to inundate you all with 15 to 20 minutes of ads and pitches for other people's products. So that means there's the cost of admission. There's dues that you pay to be here, and those dues are a straight up value exchange, just like good old-fashioned American values should be. So if you like the show, if it makes you think differently, if you take positive action in your life from what you hear today, I ask that you bring another badass into the arena. Share the show. Tell somebody who needs to hear this shit. That is how we organically build a coalition of mentally tough individuals who are inspired to eradicate mediocrity from the planet. And your job as a listener, it's not to nod along, not to repost quotes for double taps. Your job is to implement the lessons, to live those lessons. And more importantly, live those lessons every single day, even if it hurts, especially if it hurts. And today's lesson is for you to walk away knowing that you are capable of not only building a brain that bends in your favor, but totally dominating your entire self, regardless of circumstances. So let me set the tone right out of the gate. You want to know why this episode matters? Because there's a war happening inside your fucking skull, and most people don't even know it's happening. It's one of the most dangerous saboteurs of your future. It's real and it's personal. I'm talking about the people closest to you, the ones who claim they love you, but secretly hope that you never outgrow yourself. This episode is about ending toxic intrapersonal relationships, the ones that kill your confidence and kill your future self. And I'm not talking about the haters and the trolls in your comment section on a social media post. I'm talking about your spouse. I'm talking about your best friend. I'm talking about your sibling, your mentor, the people who say things like, "You've changed," like it's a fucking insult. The people who don't just waste time on your calendar, they block your clarity and block you from evolving. So if you've got somebody in your life that's keeping you mentally stuck or emotionally drained, somebody who just came to mind, today's episode is probably going to hurt, but it'll hopefully wake you the fuck up, because I'm also going to tell you what you can do about a toxic relationship that impedes your personal and professional growth. And let me start with one word that changes everything. One word that matters, and that word is winning. You want to know why winning matters and why it's vital to building a brain that bends in your favor? Winning is about evidence. It's evidence that you're not who you used to be. It's fuel that keeps you going. It's proof that what you're doing is working. It's proof along your journey of evolution that you're on the right path. And continuing to evolve and becoming a better human than you were the day before, by the way, isn't optional. Because if you're not growing, you're decaying, period. You need to feel like you're winning. Not once in a while, not only when the stars align, but again and again and again. So when you're in an interpersonal relationship, or let's say you're surrounded by a group of people who interrupt that wiring, who interrupt that winning, who interrupt your journey of evolution, who make you question your path in life, who dull your fire and drag you down or guilt trip you for outgrowing your old self, I promise you that shit has consequences. It is not just sabotage, it's neurobiological warfare. Because guys, when you tolerate people who keep trying to pull you back into the confines of mediocrity or the version of you that you don't like, you train your brain to stay small. You reinforce the outdated neural circuits that you're trying to eradicate, the weaker version you're trying to eradicate, the one that you claim you want to bury forever. And here's where most people fuck it up, okay? This is where most people actually lose the fight. Not because, and I say this with intention, the enemy was stronger, but because their mind was weaker. And there's an ancient philosophy that teaches us a man's uncontrolled mind is his only foe. And I want you to let that sit with you for a second. Because if you can't command your thoughts, if you can't direct your discipline or control the story that you tell yourself when you're sad and alone, guys, it doesn't matter how ambitious your goals are or whatever your good intentions are to chase those ambitious goals. You will never find peace. You'll never find fulfillment. You'll keep folding to your surroundings. You're going to keep letting people who haven't done shit with their life dictate what you do with yours. That's the real war. It is not outside you. It is inside your fucking skull. You did not click on this episode today. You're not listening to my voice today so that you can learn how to stay the same. You came here to learn how to cut the fucking ties that are destroying your progress. You're here to learn how to disrespect the norm, how to rise, how to evolve so loudly that you become somebody nobody recognizes anymore. So no, you can't afford to be in interpersonal relationships that block your evolution. No, you don't owe anyone your smaller self to make them feel more comfortable. And no, you're not crazy for wanting to do more and become more. You're just finally awake. Now, let me give you a clear example, okay? If you are somebody who wakes up and you start surrounding yourself with people who, let me take an example, people who treat their body like a temple, all right? We all know these people. They're up at 5 a.m., they're strength training super ultra hard, they're tracking their progress, and they're stepping on the stage ready to flex years of discipline. Then guess what? What do you think happens if you hang around those people? Okay, that shit rubs off. Their intensity becomes your baseline. Your baseline rewires around effort and execution. Why? Because the human brain is a mimic machine. You build what you absorb. You adapt to the dominant effort in your environment. So you know what happens when that shit rubs off? You are gonna be on stage, greased up, showing off and flexing your effort too. All right, now let's flip the example. If you decide to go hang around people who are doing meth every day at noon and they're binge watching mind-numbing reruns and they're bitching about how the system is rigged against them and they're passing out only to wake up with no goals in life, guess what? You're going to rot at the exact same pace that they do. And your brain will hardwire to the shitty environment and call it normal. Okay, so when I have human performance coaching clients and they come to me and they tell me in confidence about how somebody that loves them dearly constantly calls their dreams shitty, how their spouse sabotages their attempt at weight loss or nutrition plans, how they're told by a family member how worthless they are, I don't coddle them. I don't hand out tissues. I hand them a fucking katana sword and tell them to cut that fucker out of their life like it's a fucking cancer. And what do my coaching clients do? They look at me like I am batshit crazy. But I'm telling you, you can't act like there's some sort of middle ground that you can dabble inside with these people. Okay, you can't keep a toxic anchor and still sail to the life that you want. You can't. And I take a lot of heat for taking this position, okay? I get it. Your spouse loves you. You love your spouse. Yay. But guess what? There's no fucking middle ground with people who weaponize your goals against you. If somebody in your life chips away at your drive, mocks your ambition, plants every negative thought and seed into your day, drains your will to win, they are a liability. They're an emotional terrorist. And every day you let an emotional terrorist into your space is another day you wire your brain to settle for less. That's not love. That's not loyalty. That is death by 1,000 cuts, and that doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve your greater purpose on this planet to tolerate somebody in your life who basically wants to derail you. Derailment doesn't love you. Derailment doesn't support you. Derailment doesn't want what you want for yourself, okay? Doesn't want what you want for your tomorrows and all the other tomorrows that follow. And guys, you only have so many tomorrows left. And let me dive deeper into that. If you know that you only have so many tomorrows left, if you know that the clock will eventually run out on you, then it's time to talk about the why behind all of this. Why the hell do you keep toxic people in your life? Why do people tolerate emotional terrorists? Well, it's not a mystery. It's because most of you rationalize the poison that you're drinking. So when the people closest to you shit on your dreams, when they tell you to be more realistic, or stop trying to be somebody you're not, or your spouse tells you you can't do it and it's for your own good, or your best friend rationalized it all and you look at me and you say, you know what? He's right. I am too old to change careers. I'm not educated enough to shoot for that promotion. I'm too fat to make changes in my life, etc. You rationalize the poison. And why? It's because you've heard this feedback before from people who love you. So your brain recognizes this pattern as familiar. It's like a warm blanket, even though it doesn't feel good. So you rationalize staying small and therefore rewire your brain to believe that your goals are dangerous, that your evolution is a threat. Guys, when did it become brave to quit on yourself because someone else couldn't stomach your greatness? When did it become noble to stay small so your weak-ass social circle doesn't feel threatened? Today's society has become so mentally fragile and weak and offended so easily that when it comes to sticking up for yourself, many of you listening are more afraid to hurt somebody's feelings than to tell that person no. And I'm like, what the mother of fuck is happening here? And I can tell you guys unequivocally, without a doubt, the biggest bullshit excuse that's shouted at the top of the lungs of people who give up on themselves, and you hear it too, I know you do, the reason why they aren't more successful, the reason why they won't shed the toxicity, the reason why they don't leave the relationship is the excuse that everybody gives for not cutting this shit out with the katana sword, and it's these words: I can't leave them. I can't break up with them. I can't ignore them. I can't stand up to them. But Erin Marie, you just don't understand. I really, 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 really can't. Motherfucker, you are not an anomaly. You are not some tragic exception to the rules of personal growth. And you want people to believe that for some unorthodox reason, the zodiac gods have taken aim at you with a special case of the personal growth curse, and somehow you've caught it? Bullshit. You are reinforcing learned helplessness. You're training your brain to surrender before the fight even begins. So don't tell me I can't. There are people walking this planet with the exact same hell that you are in. Same toxic marriage, same manipulative mother, same dead-end job, same cramped, shitty living quarters, and they're still getting up at 5 a.m., still stacking wins, still building a brain that bends in their favor with the same external forces that you claim weigh you down. Now, why is that? Because they made a decision to draw a line in the cement between themselves and the toxicity. They stopped asking for permission to grow, for permission to be powerful, to build agency over their life. They stopped being a walking hostage in their own life, and they chose to act like the problem solver that they were born to be and continue to improve their quality of life. And they get up the next day, by the way, and they press repeat. And this is my point today, guys. Listen. I know what it's like being inside a toxic intrapersonal relationship. I know this better than anyone. It is a long, slow, piss poor death of agonizing decay. I get it, okay? It's not dramatic. It's not explosive. It's just a daily erosion of your soul. I get it. But most of you've convinced yourself that you don't have a choice. You've surrendered to people who would rather watch you burn your life to the ground than rise up. You gave them power that they never earned, and you did it for the sake of loyalty to comfort than you are to personal growth. You think you have no agency over the toxicity that you tolerate, and that's just not true. That is a cop-out. You can replace negative energy. You can cut out the dead weight. You can stop answering the text messages. You can block the toxic people, and you can quit with the I can't statements by making your life purposefully harder. Because choosing the hard shit in life will always outweigh waking up full of regret. If you're still living inside the lie that you can't, you're not just delaying your potential, you are betraying it. And let me be clear. There is no more gut-wrenching pain in life than looking back and realizing that you were the one who kept yourself small. You chose to carry the dead weight of other people's mediocrity. You chose to shrink so they wouldn't feel insecure around your greatness. You chose to lock the cage and toss the key. But let me remind you, you built that cage that you're living inside, which means you can burn it the fuck down. So when you run around telling people I can't, by the way, you come across like a Care Bear motherfucker, just so you know. Nobody, and I mean nobody, who's ever built a brain that bends in their favor did it while being tethered to toxicity. And here's what you need to understand at the neurobiological level. Anybody that you look up to, whether it's been in your lifetime or before, stared down and overcame the exact same toxicity that you are currently experiencing. And what does that mean? It means that those people understand something that you don't, and it's this. Your brain will adapt to your new standard when you stop negotiating with the old one. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine. You just haven't lived inside the pattern yet or long enough. That's why you're confusing discomfort with danger. You're not in danger. You're in evolution. And that confusion that you feel in your gut, that's your old self dying. And yeah, this new journey you're on is gonna fuck with your head at first because a new direction doesn't feel safe. Your brain reads this as a threat. And what do most people do when they feel internal static in their brain? They don't recognize it as the new synaptic pathways being built. They feel static and then they bail. They tell themselves, I must be on the wrong road. Okay, it's not. That's not it. You're not lost. You're leveling up. So let me break it down for you. Most people are not going to walk your entire journey of evolution with you from start to finish, okay? And even very few are going to clap when you outgrow the version of you that they were comfortable with. And even fewer are going to champion you all the way to the end, because when you level up, you are therefore creating a ripple effect. And you know what? Not everybody wants to be caught up in that current. Not everybody's going to like the new direction that you take in your life because you have recalibrated your expectations, not just of yourself, but of other people. You're no longer who you were. Your goals have shifted. Your time became more valuable. Your energy got tighter. Your boundaries became non-negotiable and drawn in cement. And because of this, you end up teaching people which bullshit you no longer tolerate. And people are going to feel that seismic shift. And you will also inherently look for people who support your new beliefs, your new destiny, your new path, which means the people you keep closest to you will probably end up being different than they were before. And that's okay. That's what you need to know. It's okay. So here's a story from my personal life. When I decided to level up, I didn't go make an announcement like most people do. I took a good hard look at the people I surrounded myself with and decided to engage in what I like to call friendship breakups. And what I mean by that is like a full-on breakup. You are no longer in my life. Break the fuck up. Break up with people. So let me explain what I did. I didn't wake up one day and think, okay, I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to call a bunch of friends and I'm going to break up with them, or I'm going to send out some farewell text messages. No, it started by me dedicating more and more time to my own personal growth. I grew tunnel vision toward my future. Zero periphery. I obsessed over my fitness. I devoured personal development literature. I started going dark at 2100 every night. I poured into my children. I built my business and brand like my life depended on it. I did the emotional work on myself I've never done before. I engaged in licensed therapy to learn about my toxic behavior patterns so that I wouldn't repeat them. I basically cleaned house mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, everything. I built what I now call my discipline ecosystem, which I go into further detail in podcast episode 1 called Discipline Over Everything, if you want to hear more about this. But for our purposes today, all the bullshit in my life, it disappeared. And like one day I just woke up and I looked around and all of a sudden I wasn't getting any more DMs, no invites, no lifelines, no friends. I was no longer waking up and just getting by. I was waking up and turning inward and fulfilling my own needs first, which led to me placing more value on my time, my energy, my effort with myself, and doing the work that made me feel like an outsider in my own skin. And what happened? My friend circle that I once had was no longer on my level. And so I didn't have any friends. And I remember thinking how alone I felt. I was flapping around in the wind, just me and the mission that I was on. But I didn't care about the feeling of loneliness. Actually, I didn't even care about it a little bit because the mission was me. I was finally giving myself permission to be ambitious as fuck, to chase the most savage high-level version of myself, to define success on my terms, and to not feel obligated to the drama, bullshit, nonsense, or approval from people that were no longer serving my interests. So yeah, I felt empowered, and yeah, I felt lonely as hell. Both were true. Because when you start cutting the toxicity and redesigning your life around your new standard, you enter into like a dead zone that, quite frankly, most people don't survive in. It's cold, it's quiet, there's no cheerleaders, there's no hand holders, there's no familiar faces, and your brain, that's wired for survival, not success, starts screaming, oh shit, did I make a mistake? Did I burn it all down for nothing? And for me, that was an experience in and of itself. And I want you to know that reaction is normal. That's just your old system trying to stay alive. That's your neurobiology doing what it's designed to do. Keep you safe in the familiar, even if the familiar is fucking toxic. So no, it's not that you made a wrong turn. That's just what you think. You're just in between levels. You're in what I like to call the space between. You're not at the top of the mountain yet, but you're no longer stuck in the valley of other people's bullshit. You're in the space between where you've already made the decision to reject your old standards. And now your nervous system, your identity, your entire mental operating system, it needs time to calibrate to the new one. This space between, that's where your tolerance gets redefined. It's where you're experiencing the lessons you need in order to get to where you're going. It's where you build the skill set of self-discipline, emotional regulation, and cognitive clarity. This is where you start pulling away from your comfort system and redirecting toward forward motion. Remember, forward motion is a discipline, not a direction. And you won't make it to your next level until these skill sets have been accomplished and the lessons have been learned first, as you're making your way down the distance of the new recalibration path that you're on. And this is a point that I want to make here to you guys, okay? Most people can't stomach the discomfort of recalibration. They can't stomach little to no friends, no support, not knowing what to do next, not sure if they're on the right path, nobody cheering on the sidelines. So what do most people do, guys? they quit. They're literally standing there at the gates of the next level, but they can't see it. It feels quiet. It feels unfamiliar, maybe even a little fucked up. So they turn back. They start answering DMs from toxic friends, and suddenly it's Friday night, and they're throwing back pizza and a 6-pack of vodka sodas instead of the clean fuel that powered their progress. Okay? Or they're ditching their workouts and they're throwing away 45 days of consecutive zone 4 physical activity to go get trashed downtown with the same college crew that hasn't changed in a decade. Or they're walking around the mall, spending $457, going broke on shit that they don't need after reorienting their finances in a better direction just to numb the pain of feeling alone in their growth. And boom, just like that, those are people who have traded a journey of evolution for old piss poor standards and people. They've sold their future for 52 minutes of familiarity. That is not how you build a brain that bends in your favor. That's how you build the cage that you crawl into, that you claim that you hate. Here's what you have to remember. Those people that you are trying to outgrow, the people you are trying to distance yourself from, those are people who live in a false reality. They live in a filtered lie, a cage made of excuses. They wake up, they hit autopilot, and they coast through life built on regret. Their dreams are flabby, their habits are poison, their life is shitty, their goals are shitty, their mediocrity is a lifestyle, they're loyal to being pathetic. That's why they're toxic. That's why they try and drag you down and keep you trapped inside the confines of mediocrity. That's not the people who build a brain that bends in their favor. You are not here to learn how to cut corners. You're here to learn how to cut ties. You're here to learn how to level the fuck up. And yes, solitude comes with this journey. It's part of the journey. You're going to have to get used to it. It's the prerequisite. But if you keep pushing long enough, far enough, if you keep shedding what doesn't serve you or belong to you any longer, when you remain inside the space between long enough, you're gonna hit a breakthrough. And that breakthrough is perspective. Perspective is waiting for you on the other side. Perspective, which is a new tribe of people. There's a whole bunch of us, of like-minded people, waiting to greet you, waiting to support you. People who don't flinch when you talk about winning. People who expect you to go chase greatness. People who sharpen you, encourage you, help you, not sabotage you. Because these are people who shed the toxicity and didn't cut the corners and made the hard decisions that brought the new perspective. And when you finally hit that level and you look back at where you used to vibe, you're going to say out loud what all the rest of us said out loud when we hit that level, which is, holy shit, why the hell did I let those weak ass participation trophy Care Bear motherfuckers keep me small for so long? Why the hell was I vibing on that level for so long? And you say that because now your brain is clear, because now your nervous system isn't hijacked by drama, because now you see it all for what it is. Your old interpersonal relationships. It's a toxic family, toxic friends, toxic colleagues, toxic neighbors, toxic whatever the fuck. They never had the mental stamina or the emotional bandwidth to even support your evolution, which is exactly why they weren't. You are going to gain the perspective so that when you look back at those relationships, whether it was a dating relationship, a marriage relationship, a situationship, an old career, an old boss, old habits, whatever, and you're going to remember exactly how those people or those groups or that environment tried to suffocate your ambition. Every time you brought up one of your dreams, they fed you fear. Every time you wanted to grow, they accused you of being selfish. Every time you started chasing your most ambitious desires, they brought up all the bullshit reasons as to why you shouldn't. But when you cut that shit loose, when you walk away from energy vampires, when you slam the door on people who live to make your day worse and drag you down or remind you of every single previous bad decision or flaw of yours, you open yourself up to meet others like you. people who give a damn, people who want you to win, people who fuel your growth instead of fear it. And those relationships, they're stronger, they're smarter, they're cleaner. These are people who vibe like you. They're more knowledgeable, more motivated. They're willing to contribute to your success, and they leave you feeling 10 times more empowered over your life than you've ever felt before. So you got to ask yourself, what if every single relationship in your life made you mentally stronger, emotionally stronger, physically stronger? What if all of your interpersonal relationships actually challenged you and called you out on your fuck-ups and held you to your word because they wanted to see you dominate your life? What if your interpersonal relationships weren't threatened by your ambition, but inspired by it? Now that changes the conversation. You ever sit inside one of those conversations with those people? Those conversations are inherently more meaningful when you engage with people like this. You don't waste time on meaningless drama over mimosas at 1:00 in the afternoon on a Wednesday. You don't waste energy wondering if somebody has your back. You've got people who want to build with you, not bleed you out. People who don't need your money. They don't need to arbitrage your book of business because they have their own book of business. They don't need to ride your coattails like a leech. They're vibing in their own direction, a positive direction, and they want you to come along. Or do you want to live the rest of your life on the flip side of that coin, huh? Do you want to keep playing house with the same shitty ass friend group who constantly talk a big game and never do shit in their life? People who tell you how dumb you are, that everything's wrong with you, how impossible your goals are, how you'll never amount to anything more in life? Or they throw themselves their poor little pity me parties and they tell you how fucked the world is and they blame everybody else for their shitty situation. They blame their ex. They blame the government. They blame their boss, their spouse, the stars, the fucking moon phase for their miserable, hollow existence. So what life do you choose? Huh? Which decision do you make when it comes to the toxic interpersonal relationships that you tolerate in your life? Which path gets you closer to building a brain that bends in your favor? What's it gonna be? Are you gonna cut the toxicity bullshit out with a katana sword, clean, precise, friendship breakups, no looking back? Or are you gonna allow the energy vampires to suck the life out of you every single day, whispering every single negative sentence that they can conjure up about you until regret is the only thing you've got left on your deathbed? Which do you choose? Which path do you choose if I told you that you could make it through the space between and out on the other side? What if I told you that you are capable, that you do have what it takes to go the distance in the cold, in the solitude, that you can build the discipline to teach people how to treat you, to draw a line in the cement that doesn't allow for any cracks in your foundation, for any toxicity to seep through, so that you can build a brain that bends in your favor? Would you finally do it? Would you finally do it if you believed that you were capable? Because that's exactly what this is. It's to teach you how to end toxic interpersonal relationships. It's to teach you how to build a brain that bends in your favor. And how do you do that? You turn inward. You stop asking for permission. And by the way, shedding the toxicity and ending interpersonal relationships that no longer serve you is not about giving everybody the middle finger and walking away like you're a rebel with a cause. It's deeper than that. It's an internal shift. You adopt an entirely new perspective, which you may have not done in a really long time or may have never experienced before. So, yes, you're going to walk around in uncharted terrain, likely sitting on the edge of your bed at night with your head hung in your hands, wondering whether or not you've made the right decision, feeling immense solitude and immense worry and immense anger and sadness and anxiety and fear. And I want you to know, when you feel this, you are not the exception. That's the prerequisite. It's not about you avoiding the storm. It's about building a better boat and navigating the storm and going until you reach the next level. And no, not everybody is going to understand your journey of evolution. You have to come to terms with this. You can't expect people who aren't evolving in life to understand your evolution. So the next time somebody mocks your ambition, the next time you're sitting in a room full of Care Bear motherfuckers who start to argue with you about the smart shit that you say from what you learned here on this show, do not share the show with them, okay? They're not ready. They won't get it. What you do instead is double the fuck down on yourself. Keep building, keep executing, keep going the distance, keep feeling the solitude, keep saying yes to building a brain that bends in your favor, because when you break through and finally reach the next level and look around, you're going to realize something wild. You're not alone. I see you. I see the pain. I see the sacrifice. I see you wondering if it's all worth it. I see you choosing the harder path. I see you fighting to shed everything that's been holding you back. I see the raw, unfiltered pursuit of a better life. I see the nights that you've cried into your pillow at night, praying to fall asleep before you fall apart. I see you questioning your very existence. And I am telling you right now, all of us on this level, we fucking see you. And I know you can't see us. I know you can't feel us. I know you can't hear us cheering for you, but we are louder than you could ever imagine. Don't shrink back. Don't give up. Reject the mediocrity. End the toxicity. Get obsessed with who you're becoming next and chase it like your fucking life depends on it, because it does. And when you are standing there in the arena, cold, pissed off, misunderstood, alone, bleeding from the teeth and feeling defeated, I want you to remember, that's what it feels like when you're finally becoming somebody that nobody can mentally fuck with.
This has been the Erin Marie Podcast. So many people walking around out there are professional victims and complainers, and we ain't having it. If you agree and you've gotten something from the show, make sure to like, rate, and review. Remember, stay off your ass, no excuses, and never settle for mediocrity. Catch you next time on the Erin Marie Podcast.